I think that this is going to be like pivotal in summer. Hi you guys, welcome back to the Clean Beauty Code. I'm so excited for this video. We are doing another concealer review. We're talking about another concealer. We are talking about the new Lawless concealer, and I've heard a bunch of requests for this, and I was testing it, and I have some thoughts, and I definitely want to get into the nitty gritty and let you know who I think it would be best for, and then also compare and contrast it to other products that I've loved and mentioned on this channel so that you can kind of know where I feel like it lies with those. So this is gonna be a fun video. I'm very, very excited. I love talking about concealer. I love a new concealer, you guys. I just do, and you guys definitely do too, because anytime a new concealer comes out, you guys request the review immediately, and I hear your cries, and I got you. So I just want to kind of like jump in and get started. Let me know down below if you've used this concealer and what your thoughts are, but also let me know down below any other videos that you want to see. I have the Amicole powder review coming, so that will be before or after this, kind of depending on the order I upload videos in, but let me know anything else you want to see down below. So let's get into this video. So if you're excited for this video and more videos like this, then please like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get into this Lawless concealer review. All right, you guys, let's get into it. So I actually have two shades of the Lawless concealer. One I brought was like super, super light, but I really wanted something that was very, very highlighting, super, super bright under the eyes. So I got the a shade that like made no sense, but I got it and I'm happy with it. And then I also got one that makes sense for my under eyes. So I have two shades. What are the shades that I have? Where are the names? Here we go. Brushed Honey, and then the shade Cashew. So I'm going to swatch these for you guys. So Cashew is very, very, it looks like cashew. It looks, that's a very good description for the shade. So this is the shade Cashew. It's a very, very light color, but I like to use a little bit of a dot and just slightly highlight, because I feel like sometimes my under eyes need like a really bright highlight. Let me know if I'm alone on that. And then this is the shade Brushed Honey, which is actually the shade I'm wearing under my eyes today. So this is the Lawless concealer, and this is meant to be more of a matte finish concealer, and that I feel like can work. Some people love that, some people don't love that. This is also meant to be a full coverage concealer. So let's get into it. I'm going to blend it out with my finger, because I actually prefer blending this out with my finger than with a brush. And I also prefer to use this with a beauty sponge. So I'm going to blend both of these out with my finger so you can kind of see how it kind of blends. The light color is super light, so please disregard the fact that it looks a little crazy. So this is I have blush on my hand from when I applied my makeup earlier, but this is the colors blended out. The shade Brushed Honey is a really good shade. Again, wearing it under my eyes. And I didn't use the shade Cashew today to add a little bit extra highlight. I just wanted something I'm going for a very natural look today on my face with a little bit more of a flushed cheek. And I wanted it to be very seamless and not look too intense. So I went with something very neutral. And this is a very pretty shade. I will say I found picking a shade to be really hard. I don't know why. I just was very unsure. Let me look at what it looked like. When I was buying it, I was very concerned with picking a shade, because although I feel like the swatches were relatively accurate, I felt like it was really hard for me to tell, because I feel like, especially like Brushed Honey, I knew Cashew was gonna be crazy light, but Brushed Honey, when I looked at the swatch, I was like, this isn't gonna work. But then I got it and I was like, oh, what it looks like in person, at least for me, is not what it looked like on the website with swatches. And the shade Cashew, I feel like Cashew was pretty accurate. But even Cashew looked like, I'm looking at it here now, I have it up, looks a little bit darker on the swatch on the website than it does in person. So I feel like I was having a hard time kind of figuring out what would work for me. But it ended up working out good. So again, these are good matches for me. I like to blend it out with my fingers. I prefer that with this formula because it is more on the matte side, and because it is more full coverage, even though I feel like with how I apply it, I don't get full coverage out of it. I get more medium plus because I apply a very small amount. So let me just show you. If I'm doing under my eyes, this would be like the amount I would apply at first. So So I apply pretty much that amount at first, and then we'll blend it out with my fingers and just kind of pat it out. And then I will kind of see if I want to add more. But because this is a matte formula, I don't like to apply too much under my eyes. And there are a couple of reasons for that. I have dry under eyes. It almost can feel like, make my under eyes feel tight, and that's with every matte formula. It's not just this formula, but it can make my under eyes feel a little bit tight. What I do like about this is because it is more on the matte side, it almost sets up, and so I don't feel like I need to set it. I also don't feel like I need to set it because it isn't a super liquid formula. It does have like, it's more of a, I feel like it's more whipped looking almost. Maybe whipped isn't the right word, but it's more of a true traditional, when you think of a consistency of a concealer, it's more of a true traditional consistency in that sense. And I do like that because I don't feel like, because it is such a thin consistency, it's going to crease. I find that I don't have to worry about creasing as much, and it doesn't set up so fast that I can't let it sit for a second and then blend it out. It isn't a formula that I have to work really fast with, which I enjoy. So with the fact that it's matte and the fact that it isn't like a super thin formula, I find that it is a little bit drying under the eyes, and I don't love that, just because right now my under eyes are super dry. But I have been prepping my under eyes a certain way to kind of prepare myself for it, and it's been working really well, and I do feel like my under eyes look really nice. I've been wearing this concealer for about 4 hours maybe at this point, and I feel like it just like blended out like a dream. It's sitting really nice. But if you don't prep your under eyes correctly and you have more dry under eyes, or under eyes that are more on the dehydrated side, it can look a little bit more apparent. But what I like to do is I like to, whatever eye cream I'm wearing, and then on top of that I will take my LAWLESS beauty oil, take a little bit, like my finger, a couple fingers, like a dot, and then just blend it out, and blend it out until it has a little bit of tack. You can do that with other oils. I really like the LAWLESS beauty oil. It's really good, super hydrating. And I do that, and then I will apply this concealer, and then I find that it wears so much better. But in general, with everything, prep is the best. Like, however you prep your face is like a lot of the time going to determine how something is going to wear or how it's going to work. So prepping my under eyes with a beauty oil has been so helpful, because I do find this again to be on the dry side. But I do find prepping with a beauty oil has been really helpful, because again, this is on the dry side. But the prep with this, I don't have that issue, and I don't feel like at the end of the day I'm like screaming and need my under eye makeup to be removed. At the end of the day, I'm like not even thinking about it, which is really nice. If you apply a little bit at a time, that's step one. I feel like that's really important. And then just making sure you're prepping your under eyes with a good eye cream or an eye oil or whatever it is. If you're the type of person that doesn't wear eye cream, because I know a lot of people don't, then just maybe this won't be for you, just because it is a little bit more on the drying side. But again, it depends on what your under eyes are like, because not everyone's under eyes are the same. Right now my under eyes are a little bit more on the dry side than they would be, but I still have dry under eyes, and because that part of my, not just my face, but our face tends to crease a little bit easier as we get older, I like to ensure that I'm super hydrated, so I don't end up aging faster than I want to. So this, but this is really nice. I do enjoy this. And I feel like, again, with the right prep, like this can be a really good concealer. I feel like the finish is really nice, although it's more on the matte side. I don't mind that. I do prefer sometimes to not have as shiny of an under eye. I also really enjoy the way that it wears. It lasts super long throughout the day. And even with oil underneath, it lasts super long. Like, it's there all day. And then when I take it off, it's like when I'm removing my makeup with like a makeup wipe or whatever it is, like a cotton swab. Can I get a cotton pad? Jeez, a cotton pad, and I just remove it. Then it ends up being really, it's fun. Like, it ends up being like it's still there, like a good amount comes off, which is really impressive. I really enjoy this. And again, for me, it's all about prep, but that's for me with most things. If I'm like, oh wow, I really don't like this. Okay, why don't I like it? Okay, well, how do I fix that issue? And then if my prep ends up making it better, then that's great. A lot of the time that doesn't always help, but with this product it did. So I highly recommend that if you're looking for a really good full coverage concealer, and you've been interested in this and you are intrigued by the brand Lawless. Lawless. I'm a huge fan of Lawless. Okay, so let's now move on. You guys, let's talk about this compared to other concealers that I love. Okay, so then next let's move on to this. So this is the Rose Ink Concealer, and this is in the shade LX100. And this is a really good concealer because this is more on the full coverage side, but it also is hydrating, but it also isn't super creasy. This is more of a whipped formula. I would call this more whipped than I would the Lawless one, but this is one of my favorites. I grab it all the time. Now, comparably here, I would say in terms of coverage, they are relatively similar, but because I apply less of the Lawless one, by far, I don't get as much coverage, if that makes sense, but I could get as much coverage. I also feel like with the Rose Ink one, I don't need to hydrate my under eyes as much, just because it's not as drying of a formula, and it isn't, I would say it's more of a natural satin finish as opposed to a matte finish. So that's kind of the difference here. If I had to pick between the two, to be honest, I would go with the Rose Ink one just because I don't have to think about it as much. Sometimes you just want to slap concealer on. However, I do feel like it really depends on the day, because if I want a little bit more coverage, I'm definitely going with the Lawless one over the Rose Ink one. So it really is dependent there on your preference, but also kind of how your under eyes handles products. So then next we want to talk about this one, which is the LYS Beauty. This is also a really recent launch. This is the LYS Beauty Triple Fix Full Coverage Brightening Concealer, and I have the shade MN5 in this one, and this is definitely similar in terms of the way that I wear it. I apply a little bit, let it sit for a second, and then blend it out with my fingers, and it just gives me a very nice coverage. I would say, again, with this one I can get full coverage, but the way I apply it, I get a little bit more medium plus coverage, which is fine. This is a way thinner consistency than this one. Like, this is a very liquidy consistency, and this one is less of a liquidy consistency, so I feel like the Lawless concealer creases a little bit less, and I don't have to let sit as long, because I always let my concealer sit. I like apply concealer, I like dot it out, and then let it sit, do my brows, and then blend it out. I get a little bit more coverage that way, but I also get a lot less creasing. I don't really need to set either of these, and I really like the way that they both wear. The LYS Beauty one is a lot more hydrating under the eyes, so the difference really is there. I would say coverage wise they're very similar. Consistency wise they're very different in terms of how thick they are. Okay, and then next we have the Ilia concealer. So I have the shade Shy in the Ilia concealer, even though I just ordered a lighter one because I want just the most brightening under eyes in summer, but I really enjoy both of these concealers. Now the Ilia concealer is more of a medium coverage concealer, so there's definitely a difference here in terms of coverage, and definitely a difference here in terms of hydration wise. The Ilia concealer is a lot more hydrating under the eyes, and the consistency is also a little bit thinner, but this one I would say is more the most traditional style of like a traditional concealer to the ones that I've mentioned before, because the Rose Ink concealer is more whipped. The Ilia, not the Ilia, the LYS Beauty concealer is a little bit on the more thin side, and the Ilia concealer is a little bit more traditional style, like the Lawless one. So that's just something to note there. However, both really great. But again, it's a coverage thing, and it also is a consistency and dryness thing, and that's really the preference there. Okay, so let's wrap this up in a neat little bow. Let's do final thoughts. So is this going to replace any of my current obsessions concealer? No, I don't think it's going to replace it, but what I do think it's going to do is be like an addition, because I have been grabbing it a ton, especially with now figuring out the way that I like to prep my under eyes the most to use it. Now, what I will say is I think that this is going to be like pivotal in summer. I think that this is going to be one of the products that like people are grabbing a ton in summer, because you know what? Summer's a sweaty time, you guys, and it's an oily time, it's a greasy time. It is like, it's not that cute all the time. I know I don't look cute, so this is definitely going to be one I'm grabbing a ton in summer, when I'm definitely more on the oily side, because I definitely get really oily in summer, and I don't love to powder my face a ton. This is going to be one of those things that I can grab a ton and just know it's going to kind of stay put all day. It also is really good for when my eyes are super runny. Allergies right now are just a nightmare, so it's been really good for that. And I feel like in summer, when it's like windy and it's warm and you're sweaty, this is going to be a go-to, and this is definitely going to be a go-to for me. I'm excited to see how I like this in summer, especially because I feel like this is going to be one of those that is like a big grab in summertime, when I'm in a place where I need a little bit more of a matte finish, but also something that is going to kind of stay put all day. This is really good. It blends out really nicely. It isn't super, it doesn't look thick, although the consistency is more on the thicker side than some of the other ones I talked about today. It blends out really seamlessly. I can wear it with makeup, without makeup, and I do find, although I need to prep a little bit more, that doesn't bother me. It's just something that I now know with this. I need to prep my under eyes a little bit more, but when I prep my under eyes a little bit more, then I don't have to worry as much about, like, at the end of the day feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to get this off, because I don't feel that way at all. It ends up being really good, and I end up being really happy with it, and I think that that is great. It's like, it's great to discover a way that you like to wear something that might not have been working for you that well. So this is a great product. I'm a huge fan of this, and this is definitely going to be a go-to when I'm needing something that is more full coverage, a little bit more on the matte side, but also when I'm having really runny eye days. Like right now, my eyes have been watering like crazy because of my allergies, so this has been good because it doesn't really budge. It's a really good, like, long lasting concealer, and that's really important. So this is definitely, again, not going to replace any of my favorites right now, but it is going to be an addition, and it layers really well with my favorites, which is really great. And yeah, that is it for this Lawless concealer review. I would love to know your thoughts down below. I would love to know if you've tried it, what your thoughts are. Let me know any other things that you want me to review. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.